my name is Michaela Jackson, and here's a little bit more about me. I am the only girl in my family. I grew up in Fairview, Utah on a farm. I grew up doing gymnastics, and I was expected to work as hard as my brothers. And so from a young age, I learned the value of hard work. I traveled around the United States competing for gymnastics, and in 2014 I got second place in the nation. I've won 5 state championships. I also won a state championship that year as well. I have done pageants a little bit. I was Miss Sanpete County this last year, and I got to compete at Miss Utah in 2018. That was a really great experience. One of the biggest challenges that I've ever faced was breaking both of my feet while teaching English in Russia. I was there because my ancestors were Russians and they were European Jews. I didn't know a lot about them because of the Holocaust, and so I kind of wanted to go there to see who they were and where they grew up. It was a really great experience to just dive right into the culture, and it was really fun to see the children and how they grew up and different games that they play there. But I decided to go work out with one of their gymnasts because I've done gymnastics my whole life. And I was flipping into a foam pit. In America, our foam pits are about 6 feet deep with trampolines at the bottom. Well, this one was 4 feet deep with cement at the bottom. And I hit it and broke both ankles. And then my biggest trial was that I went on a 2-week backpacking trip after that. And I really had to learn who I was in order to make it through that, because those were some of the hardest moments of my life. And as I was hopping upstairs, because I didn't know that my right foot was broken, so I was on my right foot with crutches, but I was carrying a 50-pound backpack. I was hopping on my right foot up the stairs, and I couldn't do it anymore, and we were in Scotland. And so I got on my stomach, and I started dragging myself to the top of the stairs. This was after hiking 25 miles the previous day in London. When I got to the top of the stairs at this airport that I was at, I had a gentleman pick me up, and he put me in a wheelchair. And that man wasn't a very ordinary man. He was just a worker doing his job. But that was the most heroic moment of my life. And I realize now that the very simple acts that we can do as just regular people might be a heroic moment for somebody else. And so from that experience, I have learned that I want to take advantage of every opportunity that I have to go out of my way to help somebody, because somebody did something so small for me that made a huge difference in my life. So when I got home, it had been 3 weeks since I broke my feet initially, and so the doctor just put me in walking boots. That was really fun. I was in 2 walking boots with crutches, but I was glad to have American crutches because Russian crutches were just wood, so I had like welts on my armpits. But then I went to Snow College and I finished my associate's degree. And then after that, I decided to go try out for Miss Sanpete County. To my surprise, I won. I was not expecting that at all. It was very last moment. And after that, I found out about 2 weeks later that I had to have double reconstructive feet surgery. I was going in for my right foot on October 30th, and then I went in for my left foot on December 1st. And this was a really hard time for me. I didn't realize how hard of a task it was going to be to overcome this. And I got both of my casts off in January, and then I had to compete at Miss Utah in June of this last year, so June 2018. I was going to perform a gymnastics routine because that's my talent. And so I had from January to June to be completely recovered and to the top of my game. I worked very, very hard every single day. I was in the gym. Every moment I had, I was taking the opportunity to get stronger and to build my muscles back up. It took about 3 months to get my strength back, and it took a long time, I feel like, for my feet to be able to move properly again. It still hurts to this day. But I was able to go to Miss Utah and perform the very best of my ability. After that, I came up to Weber State to do respiratory therapy. The program here is absolutely wonderful. I love the professors. I love the people in my class. And one of the girls nominated me in my class to be homecoming queen. And I filled out this little survey, and a couple days later, they called me and wanted an interview. I went into the interview, I didn't know what to expect, but I had a lot of fun. And that night they called me and they told me that I had been selected as Weber State's homecoming queen. And that was such an honor because I've always wanted to be a part of something at Weber. And for this being my first semester and my first year here, I was super excited to be able to represent a school that I have come to love so quickly. And it just really feels like a family here. I'm a very religious person, and so on my traveling around Europe, one of the places I got to go was Auschwitz, and that was a very, very different feeling. It was very spiritual but very emotional, and I was standing at the end of the railroad tracks, and I always, as you can see, I have a Star of David necklace. I always wear my Star of David necklace, but I wasn't wearing one that day, and at the end of the railroad tracks there was a Star of David made out of flowers. And I reached for my necklace and it wasn't there, but I could feel the imprint of it in my finger. And the words came to my mind, "Can't you feel we're connected?" And when my feet were broken, I was traveling around Europe for 2 weeks, like I said, on a backpacking trip. We went to Paris, London, Scotland, Florence, Venice, and Rome. While we did this, there were cobblestone roads. That was a very difficult trial, but I had a lot of moments where I felt like my body was 100% out of strength, and all I had to do was, the only thing I could do was rely on my spirit to keep me strong, to keep me happy, to keep me going. The words came to my mind again that said, "Can't you feel we're connected?" And I knew at that moment that people who loved me wanted to help me, and they were there to help me. They were going to help me get back home to my parents. And even though I felt like it was a failure breaking my feet, my greatest success came in the fact that I realized that when I was 100% out of physical strength, I could rely on my spirit, I could rely on who I was, I could rely on the values that I had in order to get me back home.